I've completed working one double crochet in every stitch from the one side to the other side of my jacket on the bottom stitches as we were crocheting so far, okay? So now we're doing the rib stitch, so I worked one double crochet in every stitch. I've chained one and I've turned my work. So from here on, up until you complete working your rib stitch on the bottom side of your jacket, the first stitch is always going to be a half double crochet. So put your hook in the very first stitch and work one half double crochet. Now my next stitch is going to be a front post double crochet. So put your hook from the front to the back on the right side, to the front again on the left side, and work a double crochet. The next stitch is going to be a back post. So put your hook from the back to the front on the right side, to the back again on the left side, and work a double crochet. The next stitch is going to be a front post double crochet. So put your hook from the front to the back on the right side, to the front again on the left side, and work a double crochet. Next stitch is going to be a back post. So put your hook from the back to the front on the right side, to the back again on the left side, and work a double crochet. Next stitch is going to be a front post double crochet. Next stitch is going to be a back post double crochet. So keep working one front post, one back post up until you complete the row. And the last stitch is going to be one half double crochet. So right before I finish, I'm going to turn the video back on, so we're going to complete the row together and then start the next one. I'm almost done with my row. I've worked my last stitch, and now I'm going to work the last stitch for this row, which will be a half double crochet and chain one. I'm going to turn my work now. What you have to be aware of is, see how the second before last stitch is a front post double crochet. Depending on the stitches that you have on the bottom side of your jacket, if they're odd or even, that will depend if this stitch is going to be a front post or a back post. If yours comes out a back post double crochet, that doesn't mean that it's wrong. That's why we always make a half double crochet and in the end and in the beginning of the row. This way the stitches in between, we can work them easily, even if they're back post, even if they are front post, in the beginning and in the end. Okay, so I've already chained one and I'm going to turn my work. Kind of hard because the jacket's kind of huge now under my video camera. Okay, so I am going to start the next row, and from here on we're going to work off camera. As I mentioned earlier, the first and last stitch are going to be one half double crochet. Okay, so put your hook right in the first stitch over here and work one half double crochet. Now in the rest of the stitches in between, I want to keep the same direction of the stitches. So all the stitches that in the previous row were front posts, turning my work, they seem as they are back posts. So I want to keep working back posts. And every stitch that in the previous row was a back post, in this row it seems as if it's a front post. So I want to keep making front posts on those stitches. So starting my second stitch is a back post double crochet, so I want to keep working a back post double crochet on that stitch. The next stitch is a front post, so I want to keep making front post double crochet. Next stitch is a back post. Okay, so keep working one front post, one back post up until you complete the row. The very last stitch again is going to be a half double crochet, and then you're going to chain one, turn your work, again work one half double crochet in the first stitch and front post and back post up until you complete the row again. So I'm going to work the rest of the rows off camera of the rib stitch. When I turn my video back on, I'm going to mention how many rows of the rib stitch I've made, and we're going to see how it looks completed on the bottom side. Once we do that, then we're going to go ahead and work around our jacket to create the buttonholes and then the yoke. Okay, So let's go ahead and work the rest of the rows of camera. I've completed crocheting my rib stitch, and this is how the bottom part of my jacket looks like from the one side to the other. Now, along with the first row that we made together, the first row of double crochet to start the rib stitch, I've made a total of 8 rows in the end of the jacket. Okay, and after I've worked my last 1/2 double crochet, I'm going to work a chain, cut the yarn, pull the loop, and tighten up. So we're finished with the bottom part of our jacket, and now we're going to make the sleeves. I've already worked the one sleeve off camera, so I could take down notes and see which was the best way to work my sleeve. Okay, so this is how our sleeve is going to look like. Now, what I did is I didn't work the sleeves in a round. I attached my yarn, and right here in the end, I did not work a slip stitch. I just kept turning my work every time I would finish the row, and I had an open sleeve down here, and I joined by slip stitching, and then in the end I worked the same rows of for the rib stitch as I did in the bottom of my jacket. So we are going to work the other sleeve together. Okay, now depending on the stitches that you worked and the size that you're working and how many rows you did before you closed your sleeve, once you close your sleeve, you either worked on the good side of your cable or in the wrong side of your cable. As you can see, my last row over here was the wrong side of the cable because here I have the 4 back post double crochet. So this means that I'm going to attach my yarn, and the first row is going to be a row of working in the right side of my jacket. So let's go ahead and start our sleeves. Let's start working our sleeve, and I'm going to attach the yarn down here in the first stitch after the joining. Okay, so this is the first half double crochet after the joining of the sleeve. And what I'm going to do is I am going to start with a decrease on the sleeve right away from the first row. So I'm going to take the yarn, pull it through the first stitch, chain 1. Now, instead of working 1/2 double crochet in this very same stitch, so I have 1 double crochet in every stitch, because I'm going to work a decrease, I'm going to wrap the yarn around once, and I'm going to put my hook right in the next stitch, and I'm going to work 1/2 double crochet. So I worked in the first 2 stitches, but I have only 1/2 double crochet as a result right here in the beginning. And keep working 1/2 double crochet in every stitch up until you reach the cable. Once I reach my cable, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to work here and how to continue the rest of the sleeve. I've reached my cable. I've worked a total of 27 half double crochet up to this point, and now I'm going to keep working my cable up until I finish my sleeve. So wrap the yarn around your hook twice, and we're going to work the cable in the same sequence we worked earlier, 3, 4, 1, 2. So put your hook in the 3rd front post and work a front post triple crochet. Wrap the yarn around twice, put your hook in the 4th stitch and work a front post triple crochet. Now going back in the 2 stitches that we left out, we're going to work 1 and 2. The first we're going to work the first and then the second front post double crochet that we left behind. So wrap the yarn around your hook twice, put your hook in the 1st stitch and work a front post triple crochet. Wrap the yarn around twice, open up your stitches because the 2nd stitch is not that visible. Okay, so work a front post triple crochet on the 2nd stitch of the cable. So we've completed working the cable again, and now from here on keep working 1/2 double crochet in every stitch up until you're left with the last 2 stitches for this row, in which I'm going to work my video back on to work the last decrease for this row. So we're going to be working a decrease in the beginning and in the end of the row in every second row. Okay, so this is the first row in which we're working the decreases. So when I'm left with 2 stitches, I'm going to turn my video back on to work the decrease together and then start the new row. I'm almost done with the row. I have 26 half double crochet at this point, and I'm left with the last 2 stitches of the row, which I'm going to work together, and I'm going to have again a total of 27 half double crochet after the cable. So wrap the yarn around your hook once, put your hook in the next stitch, grab the yarn and leave the loops in your hook. Wrap the yarn around your hook once and put your hook in the last stitch for this row, and leave the loops in your hook. So we worked in a total of 2 stitches and I have 5 loops on my hook. Grab the yarn, pull through all of those 5 loops, chain 1 and turn your work. So I have 27 stitches before the cable and 27 stitches after the cable, so I have the same amount of stitches in both sides. In the second row for the sleeve, I'm going to work 1 half double crochet in every stitch. 1, 2, 3. So keep working 1 half double crochet. Once I reach the cable, I'm going to turn my video back on. I've worked my 27 stitches and I've reached my cable. So now every time that we're crocheting on the cable, we're following the same steps of the pattern that we did earlier as we were crocheting on the cable. So now I'm on the wrong side, so I'm going to take each stitch in the row and I'm going to work 1 back post double crochet. So this is my first, on the first triple crochet. Okay, so I'm going to pull the stitch backwards and I'm going to work 1 back post double crochet. This is the second stitch, the second triple crochet, so I'm pulling the stitch backwards and I'm working a back post double crochet. This right here is the third stitch, so I'm pulling the stitch backwards and I'm working a back post double crochet. And this right here is the fourth stitch, so I'm pulling backwards and I'm working a back post double crochet. And from here on I'm working 1 half double crochet in every stitch for a total of 27 stitches again. I've completed my row with a total of 27 stitches. Now I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to turn my work. Now this row is going to be a row of decreases. The third row is going to be a row of decreases, and I'm going to be working decreases in every second row. So since it's going to be a row of decrease, I have a total of 27 stitches before the cable. Since I'm going to work the first 2 stitches together, that means that I'm going to be left with 26 stitches cable and 26 stitches on the back when I'm going to work my decrease. The next row is going to be a row of 1 double crochet in every stitch. I'm going to have 26 and 26. Then the next row, that's going to be a row of decrease, I'm going to be left with 25 and 25. Okay, so every time that we're working a row of decrease, I'm subtracting 1 stitch on the one side and 1 stitch on the other side of my cables. Okay, so I'm chaining 1 again. So wrap the yarn around once and put your hook in the first half double crochet. Take the yarn and hold those 3 loops on your hook. Wrap the yarn around once again and put your hook in the second stitch. Take the yarn, pull it through the stitch and hold the loops on your hook. So I've worked in a total of 2 stitches and have 5 loops on my hook. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Take the yarn and pull it through all of those 5 loops. So I've worked in the first 2 stitches and I have 1 half double crochet up here as a result. Now keep working 1 half double crochet in every stitch up until you reach the cable. I've worked my stitches and now I've reached my cable. So again, I'm going to work my front post triple crochet. So again, the sequence is 3, 4, 1, 2, and the reason that I'm going faster at this point is because we've already seen how to work on the cable stitch. Now the 4th stitch, a front post triple crochet, going back the first stitch, a front post triple crochet, and the second stitch, a front post triple crochet. And from here on, keep working 1 half double crochet up until you're left with the last 2 stitches, which we're going to work together to form a decrease. I've worked my 25 stitches and I'm left with the last 2 stitches of the row. So I'm going to take the yarn, put my hook in the next stitch, leave the loops on your hook, take the yarn, put your hook in the last stitch, and leave the loops on your hook. So I have 5 loops on my hook again. Grab the yarn and pull through all of those 5 loops. So the last 2 stitches became 1. Chain 1, turn your work, and this is going to be the 4th row, and I'm going to work 1 half double crochet in every stitch. So work 26 stitches, the wrong side of the cable, and 26 stitches. Once I finish the whole row, I'm going to turn the video back on. We're going to work the next row of decreases together, and then we're going to work off camera. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that you understand the pattern on where to work the decreases for the sleeve. I've completed crocheting the 4th row of my sleeves, and I have a total of 26 and 26 half double crochet and my cable stitch in the middle. Now I'm going to start the 5th row, and the 5th row is going to be again a row of decreases. So wrap the yarn, put your hook in the first stitch and hold the loops on your hook, those 3 loops. Wrap the yarn around once, put your hook in the second stitch, and we always are going to have 5 loops on our hook every time that we're making the decrease. Grab the yarn, pull through all of those 5 loops. So in every row that we're working a decrease, we want to follow this step in the first 2 and the last 2 stitches of the row that we're working together. Now, as if you have seen that we're working the decreases in all the odd numbered rows. So we've worked the decrease in the 1st, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, and so on rows, and in every even numbered row we're working 1 half double crochet in every stitch. So in the 2nd, 4th, 6th, 8th, 10th, and so on rows, I'm working 1 stitch in every stitch. In the sleeve that I've already made, I have the pattern for the decreases for the sleeve. I work up until the 19th row, where the 19th row is the last row of decreases that I worked. So in the 1st, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, 11th, 13th, 15th, 17th, and 19th rows, I've worked decreases, the first 2 and last 2 stitches together. In the even numbered rows, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, and 18, I've worked 1 half double crochet in every stitch. From there on, when I finished working the decreases, I've worked 1 half double crochet in every stitch for every row that follows. When I finish working up to this point, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how we're going to join the sleeve together and how to finish by working the rib stitch in the end. But what you can do when you're working your sleeve, you can go ahead and try on your jacket and see if it's the way that you want the sleeve to fit on your arm. If you think it's too loose, you can go ahead and work a few more rows of decreases. If you think it's too tight, you can work less row of decreases. So depending on how you want the sleeve to fit on your arm, that's how many rows of decreases you're going to follow. So I was trying on my jacket, and I figured that the best way to fit on my arm was to work a total of 19 rows of the decreases, and then after that I worked 1 stitch in every stitch. Okay, so go ahead and finish the sleeve. When I finish, I'm going to turn the video back on and see how to work the steps that I mentioned. I have completed crocheting my sleeve so far, and this is how it looks like. Okay, so from the beginning up until my stitch marker is up until where I made my decreases. So from here up to the stitch marker is a total of 19 rows. So the row after the stitch marker up until the end that I've completed so far, I've done another 18 rows with 1 half double crochet in every stitch, and I'm keeping my cable stitch in every row. Okay, so 19 plus 18, a total of 37 rows so far. Okay, so now I want to join my sleeve because it's open, and we need to turn the inside out. So I have the wrong side of the sleeve, because if we join by slip stitching, the way it was, you would have your slip stitch on the outside, on your right side of your jacket. So turn the inside out. Okay, after my last half double crochet, I'm going to work a chain 1. So what we want to do is we want to join by slip stitching all the way up until here in the armhole where we started working the sleeve. Okay, so I want to be slip stitching both sides together, and I want to grab the first half double crochet on the front side and the first half double crochet on the back side, second half double crochet on the front side, second stitch on the back side, and so on up until you complete your work. Okay, so go ahead and put your hook in the first half double crochet on the front side and the first stitch on the back side, and work your first slip stitch. So grab the yarn and pull it through both stitches and through the loop that you have on your hook. Okay, so now go ahead and slip stitch your second stitch on the front side, second stitch on the back side, and work a slip stitch. Grab the yarn, pull through both stitches and through the loop that you have in your hook. Now put your hook in the third stitch on the front side, third stitch on the back side, and work your slip stitch. Okay, and you'll see that because we have aligned both sides, you're grabbing the same, it's going to seem as you're grabbing the same stitch on the front and the same stitch on the back. Okay, so keep repeating, keep slip stitching up until you close the whole sleeve, and once you reach down here, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to finish off and how to work the rib stitch down here on our sleeve. I've completed joining my sleeve, and I've worked my last slip stitch in the last 2 half double crochet. Now what we want to do in order to avoid having a hole under our armpit, see here, these are the half double crochet that I made when I joined the 2 sides of my jacket together after I was working the increases. When I worked the 2 half double crochet to close the arm, okay, and then we worked the rest of the body. So right here where we did the joining, I'm going to work my last slip stitch, chain 1, okay, cut the yarn, pull the loop, and tighten up. So now we're going to work the rib stitch down here. Okay, now we're going to work the rib stitch, and in order to do that we want to turn again our sleeve on the inside out, and I want to have the right side on right on here. Okay, so once we crochet the rib stitch, we want the sleeve to be on the right side, and this is the scheme that we just did by working the slip stitches. This is the joining, and the reason that I did this is that so we have the joining right under our arm down here, because many times, depending on how we crochet, when we work on the rounds, sometimes we have a diagonal joining, and that's because some of us get confused and don't know how to turn the work every time we finish a row. Because if you work in the round and you turn your work every time, that way you have a straight scheme. But because sometimes people get confused, that's why I left the sleeve open and I did the joining in the end. So now we're going to work the rib stitch. So attach the yarn down here on the scheme of your sleeve, attach the yarn, and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Those 3 chains count as my first double crochet. So this is going to be a row with 1 double crochet in every stitch, even on the cable stitch. Again, we're going to work 1 double crochet regularly in the stitches. No more cable stitch, no more front post, triple crochet, or anything. Now this is a row of 1 double crochet in every stitch. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So keep crocheting 1 double crochet in every stitch. Again, make sure on top of the cable work 1 double crochet regularly in each of those 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 double crochet in each stitch, and then 1 double crochet again in each stitch around up until you reach the end. I've completed working around my double crochet, and I have a total of 40 stitches. 18 before the cable, 18 after the cable, so a total of 36, and the 4 stitches of my cable, a total of 40 stitches. Now I'm going to work a slip stitch in the first stitch of this row, which was the chain 3, which is my first double crochet. So put your hook in the 3rd chain, work a slip stitch, and chain 2. And the reason that I'm chaining 2 instead of 3 is because we're going to be working the rib stitch, so 1 front post and 1 back post. And when we're working front post and back post double crochet, the total height of our stitch is the same as the height of a half double crochet. So that's why I'm chaining just 2. Okay, so I want to have the height of a half double crochet on my chains as well. So starting with the first stitch, I'm going to work a front post double crochet. So put your hook from the front to the back on the right side of the stitch, to the front again on the left side, so you're pulling outwards, and work a double crochet. The next stitch is going to be a back post double crochet. So we're going to put our hook from the back to the front on the right side of the stitch, to the back again on the left side, and work a double crochet. Next stitch is going to be a front post, so put your hook from the front to the back on the right side, to the front again on the left side, and work a double crochet. Next stitch is going to be a back post, so put your hook from the back to the front on the right side, to the back again on the left side, and work a double crochet. So keep working 1 front post, 1 back post up until you complete the row. Once I finish, I'm going to turn my video to see how to complete the row, how to start the new one, and how to finish the rib stitch of the sleeve, the rest of it off camera. I have completed working row number 2 for the sleeve, for my rib stitch, okay, and my last stitch was the front post double crochet. Now I'm going to put my hook in the 2nd chain out of the total of 2 that we made in the beginning, and I'm going to work a slip stitch. Again, chain 2, and I'm going to keep working in the round and keeping the same direction of the stitches. So the first stitch was a front post double crochet. I'm going to keep it as a front post double crochet. Second stitch is a back post double crochet, so I'm going to keep working a back post double crochet. Next stitch is a front post, so I'm going to keep working a front post. Next stitch is a back post, so I'm going to keep working a back post. Okay, so keep repeating the pattern, 1 front post, 1 back post up until you complete the sleeve, okay? And from here on, we're going to complete the rib stitch off camera. So I want to make as many rows as I did on the bottom part of my jacket for the rib stitch. And I want to keep working in the round and always start with a chain 2, start with a front post, back post, and if your last stitch was a front post, that means that always in the end of the row, the last stitch is going to be a front post. I've completed crocheting the rib stitch on my sleeve, and as I did on the bottom part of my jacket, I worked a total of 8 rows of the rib stitch. Now, I've done my slip stitch, and in order to finish off, chain 1, cut the yarn, pull the loop, and tighten up. Okay, so this is how our sleeve looks like completed. Now, go ahead and work the other sleeve off camera. Work the same exact rows, the same decreases, the same rows after the decreases, the same rows for the rib stitch. And once you have done that, we're going to work the last rows around our jacket to finish it up. So now we want to create the buttonholes, okay? So what I'm going to do, starting from the right side down here in the bottom, I'm going to start working double crochet going upwards, okay? I'm going to work an increase up here to make a yoke, crochet around, increase here to make a yoke, and 1 double crochet in every stitch going downwards. Now chain 1, turn the work and start working from the left side going to the right. Chain 1, turn work from the right to the left, and so on up until we complete. So let's go ahead and see how to do that. So now we'll start working around, and I think before I turned the video off that I mentioned that I'm going to start from the right side going to the left and so on. But because I like when I start working around, I prefer starting on the right side of my work. I'm going to start crocheting from the left part of the jacket, because if I start crocheting from the right side, I'm going to be working my first stitches on the wrong side of my jacket. So I'm starting with the left part, and I'm crocheting on the correct side of the jacket. So I'm going to attach the yarn on the bottom left side stitch, and I'm working regular double crochet. Grab the yarn, pull it through the stitch, and chain 3. Those 3 chains count as my first double crochet for this row, okay? And I want to be working 1 stitch in every stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So I worked a total of 8 rows for the rib stitch down here. So I have 8 double crochet going upwards on those stitches, and keep working 1 double crochet in every first half double crochet of every row. Okay, so 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and keep crocheting 1 double crochet in every stitch up until you have crocheted in all of the part, in all the left part, and you've reached up here the corner. Once I reach the corner, I'm going to turn the video and see how to continue from there on. I've completed working 1 double crochet on each row. So we're working 1 double crochet on the first half double crochet of every row, from the bottom going to the top. Okay, so I've reached the corner, I've reached the end of the left side. So what I'm going to do now, okay, I'm going to do my last one because it came out. So I reached the end, and what we want to do is right here in the corner, I want to work an increase. This way I'm going to create a yoke on my jacket. So I'm going to put my hook in the last stitch over here, which is the first row when we started working the jacket, okay? And I'm going to work 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 more double crochet in the same stitch. And I'm going to put a stitch marker in the chain 1 space, because every time that I'm going to be coming in this spot, I'm always going to be working an increase. So the first double crochet is the last stitch of the row that we're working. Chain 1 is my increase, and the last double crochet that I worked is the first double crochet of the row starting up here. So I'm going to start working 1 double crochet in every stitch up here on the neck part of my jacket. And because up here is where we started working the jacket, up here is the chain stitches that we did in the beginning. Make sure you're crocheting in the correct spot because we're working on the opposite side of our chain stitch now. Okay, so 1, next stitch, 2, 3, 4, 5, and keep crocheting 1 double crochet in every stitch up here on the top up until you reach this corner over here, where again we're going to work the increase and then start working downwards. I've completed crocheting 1 double crochet around the neck, and after the increase I have a total of 62 stitches. Now I've reached the end again, where I'm left with only 1 stitch down here, up here. Okay, the last stitch of the row, where again, as I did over here, I'm going to work an increase. So in the last stitch I'm going to work 1 double crochet. Let me do that over again. 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 double crochet in the same stitch. In the chain 1 space I'm going to put a stitch marker, so I know that every time that I reach these 2 spots on my jacket I'm going to be working an increase. This way I'm separating the stitches of the yoke with the stitches of the side of the jacket. Now keep working 1 double crochet going downwards. So now we're going on the other side. This is where we started crocheting, going upwards, around. Now we're going on the other side, going downwards. So 1 double crochet in every stitch again. Okay, so in every first half double crochet of every row. Okay, and keep working up until you finish, up until you reach down here in the rib stitch. So once I reach down here, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to start the new row and how to crochet around. I've completed working 1 double crochet in every stitch going downward. Okay, and this is how it looks like so far. So this is my last double crochet. Now I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to turn my jacket. And I'm going to start working upwards 1 double crochet in every stitch up until I reach the stitch marker. Okay, so now I'm only chaining 1 and start from the very first double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and keep crocheting up until you reach your first stitch marker up here. Okay, so I've worked 1 double crochet in every stitch going upwards, and I've reached the spot where I'm almost in the chain 1 space. So what I want to show is that we do crochet in this double crochet right over here before the chain 1. Okay, double crochet. Now we've reached the chain 1 space, so take out your stitch marker and work 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 double crochet in the same chain 1 space. And again, put your stitch marker in the chain 1 space. This way, by working this chain 1, we're separating the stitches of the side of our work, of our jacket, with the yoke. Now keep crocheting 1 double crochet in every stitch on the neckline of the jacket. So up here, keep working 1 double crochet in every stitch. Once I reach the other stitch marker again, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to continue from there on. I'm almost done crocheting up here on my neckline, and I've reached the stitch marker. make sure that before you put your hook in that chain one space that you crochet in the double crochet that's before it. Okay, so double crochet, take out the stitch marker and work 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 double crochet in that chain 1 space. Again, put your stitch marker in the chain 1 space and continue working 1 double crochet in every stitch going downwards up until you complete crocheting the whole side. Now, what I want to mention, so you are aware of this, since we're crocheting the increases, okay, on each side, in every row I'm gonna have an extra double crochet on every side. And up here on the yoke, on the neckline, since I have both increases, so I have an extra double crochet on the one side and an extra double crochet on the other side, in every row I'm gonna have 2 extra stitches on the neckline and 1 extra stitch on each side of my jacket. So keep crocheting 1 double crochet in every stitch going downwards. I'm almost done crocheting the second row around, and I want to finish the row with you together because I want to show where the last stitch is, just in case you don't get confused. So if you recall, in the previous row we chained 3 to start the first row, so that chain 3 was the first double crochet. So make sure you work the last double crochet of this row on the third out of those 3 chains. Work the last double crochet, chain 1, and now we're going to turn our work to start the third row of crocheting around our jacket. Okay, so what we want to do now is work again 1 double crochet in every stitch going upwards. On the stitch marker, work your increase, double crochet, chain 1 double crochet. Work around the neckline, again 1 double crochet, chain 1, 1 double crochet, and 1 stitch going downwards up until the end of your work down here. So that once you do that, you would have completed the third row of working around. We're going to work this row off camera, and once I reach down here, I'm going to turn my video back on, and we are going to start the fourth row of working around, which is going to be the row in which we're going to create the buttonholes. Okay, so keep working 1 stitch in every stitch, work your increases in the stitch markers, and once I finish the row, I'm going to turn my video back on. I finished crocheting the third row around, and now it's time to start row number 4, in which we're going to create the buttonholes. I've already placed my stitch markers, and I would like to explain how I did it. So right here is the collar that we're making, the yoke, right? So I want to start attaching my first button a little lower than my collar. So I'm placing the stitch markers through 2 stitches. So in the holes of each stitch, okay, so in the first hole right over here, I'm placing my stitch marker, and in the hole of the next stitch as well. This way I know that I'm going to create my buttonhole in those 2 stitches over here. So then, starting from the next stitch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right over here I mark stitch number 10 and stitch number 11 together, and I know that my next buttonhole is going to be created in these 2 stitches. Then start counting again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So in the 10th and the 11th stitch again, I'm going to create my next buttonhole. Going downwards, do the same exact step. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So in the 10th and the 11th stitch, I put my stitch marker, so I know the next buttonhole is going to be created in these 2 stitches. Then do the same thing. This is the next stitch marker down here. So I have a total of 7 buttonholes created on my jacket, and this is where I put my last one. I'm not going to put any more down here because when we wear the jacket, because it's kind of long, it's going to open on my waist, so I don't want to put a button over here. And the reason that I'm making the buttonholes on the right side is because this is a female jacket. If you're making a male jacket, you want to create the buttonholes on the opposite side of your jacket. Okay, so this is for female, so we're making the buttonholes on the right side and the buttons on the left. And if you're doing a male, you're doing the buttonholes on the left and the buttons on the right side of your jacket. So let's go ahead and start. Okay, so I'm going to turn my work right here on the side to start row number 4. Again, we're working around. The only difference is that we're creating the buttonholes now. Okay, so after my last double crochet, I'm chaining 1 and work 1 double crochet in every stitch up until you reach right here the stitch marker. 1, 2, 3, 4, and once I reach my stitch marker, I'm going to turn my video back on. So I reached the spot where I have the stitch marker going through those 2 stitches, okay? So now, depending on how big the button that you're using is going to be, that's how you're going to know how many stitches you're going to leave out. So depending now how many stitches you leave out, that's how big your hole is going to be. And that's going to depend on the type, on how big your button is. So I'm going to use a button that's about 2.5 to 3 centimeters diameter. So since I'm leaving out those 2 stitches, you don't have to take out the stitch marker just in case you get confused, okay? So you know that in those 2 stitches you're not supposed to crochet into. So because I'm skipping 2 stitches, I'm substituting those 2 stitches with 2 chains. So skip over those 2 stitches and go right into the next one and work a double crochet. So this is my first buttonhole. Now keep crocheting 1 double crochet in every stitch up until you reach the next stitch marker. I've reached my next stitch marker again, and because again I'm skipping 2 stitches, I'm substituting those 2 stitches with a chain of 2. So as many number of stitches you're skipping, that's how many chains that you're going to make. So put your hook right in the next stitch and work your double crochet. And right over here we have our second buttonhole. Okay, so keep crocheting 1 double crochet in every stitch up until you reach the next stitch marker. I've reached my next stitch marker, so again I'm going to create my buttonhole. So I'm skipping 2 stitches, so chain 2 to substitute the stitches that you're skipping out, and put your hook right in the next stitch and work a double crochet. And 1 double crochet in every stitch again up until you reach the next stitch marker. So we've seen how to create the buttonholes. Go ahead and work the rest of the side off camera in the same exact way. Up here again we're going to create the increase for the collar, double crochet, chain 1 and double crochet, so make sure you don't get confused with the stitch marker that we have up here. This is the last buttonhole that we're going to create. This is the increase that I'm making for the collar. 1 double crochet around the neckline, our increase on the other side, and 1 double crochet on the other side of the jacket going downwards. Once I crochet down here and I finish my row, I'm going to turn my video back on. I've completed crocheting row number 4. This is where we started together, and this is the buttonholes that we made. Okay, so on every stitch marker, on top of every stitch marker, we have a buttonhole. Going upwards here, I made my increase, the collar, and then my other increase, and going down, and this is where I finished row number 4. Now we're gonna start row number 5, and I'm going to work off camera up to some point. This is why I'm explaining what I'm gonna do. So 1 double crochet in every stitch regularly, as we are doing so far. Okay, 1 double crochet in every stitch. My increase on the collar, neckline, 1 double crochet in every stitch, increase on the other increase. And once I reach this increase over here, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to crochet on our buttonholes. It's very easy and simple, although I do want to show how to do it. We're going to bring back the 2 double crochet that we substituted with the chain 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to work 2 double crochet in every chain 2 space and 1 double crochet in the rest of the jacket. So once I reach up here, I'm going to turn my video back on. I've crocheted around, as I mentioned before I turn my video off, 1 double crochet in every stitch, increase in those 2 corners for the collar. I've worked my increase over here, as I mentioned before I turned my video off. And now I'm going to crochet 1 double crochet in every stitch up until I reach my first buttonhole. Okay, 2, 3, 4. Make sure you do crochet on this double crochet right over here. 1 double crochet. And now in the chain 2 space, I'm going to put my hook under the chain 2 space and work 2 double crochet. 1, 2. So I'm bringing back the 2 double crochet that I left out down here. So depending on how many chains, how many stitches you left out, how many chains you've made. So if you left 1 stitch and you made 1 chain, you're going to work 1 double crochet. If you're using bigger buttons than I am, then let's say you left out 3 stitches and you made 3 chains, you're going to make 3 double crochet in your chain space. Okay, so as many chains as you have, that's how many double crochet you're going to work in your chain space. So keep crocheting 1 double crochet in every stitch, 2 stitches in the chain 2 space, 1 double crochet in every stitch, 2 stitches in the chain 2 space, up until you complete the row. Once I finish the row, I'm going to turn the video back on and see how to finish the last rows, and then in the end how to add the buttons. I've completed crocheting downwards on the chain 2 spaces to create the buttonholes, and this is how they look like. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead off camera and I'm going to crochet 2 more rows around with 1 double crochet in every stitch going upwards, increase, neckline, increase, 1 double crochet in every stitch going downwards, and then again start from this side going upwards, 1 double crochet in every stitch, increase, neckline, increase, and 1 double crochet in every stitch going downwards. And I'm doing this because I want to make the front pieces right over here where I made the buttonholes a little more wider, 2 extra rows. But mostly I want to make the collar, the yoke over here, I wanted to make it taller so it covers the whole back of my neck. Okay, so 2 more rows off camera. When I finish, I'm going to turn my video back on to add the buttons. I've completed working a total of 7 rows around my jacket. I did the last 2 off camera, and after my last double crochet, I'm going to chain 1, cut the yarn, pull the loop, and tighten up. Now we're going to place stitch markers so we know where to attach the buttons, so they're on the right side and right height to button them on the buttonholes that we have created. So I've made my buttonholes in the 1, 2, 3 in the 4th row, right? So in the 4th row we made our buttonholes. So starting to count from this side, 1, 2, 3, 4. In the 4th row, I am going to attach my buttons. Starting to count from the bottom, I made my first buttonhole in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 double crochet. So my first buttonhole is made in the 18th and 19th stitches, counting from the bottom. So in the 4th row, 1, 2, 3, 4, starting to count from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So in the 18th and the 19th stitches, I am going to place a stitch marker because on those two stitches I am going to attach a button. After the first buttonhole, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 double crochet, and then in the 10th and 11th stitch I have a buttonhole. So again, count after the stitches that you separated: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and in the 10th and 11th stitch I have a buttonhole. So in those two stitches I am going to place my button. Okay, so keep separating your stitches in the same exact way up until you have a total of 7 buttons. Once I've placed all my stitch markers, I'm going to turn my video back on to attach the first button together, and then the rest of them we're going to do them off camera. Okay, so I've attached all of my stitch markers going upwards. I have a total of 7 buttons. Okay. And this right here is the first button over here. I'm going to take my button. I've already taken yarn through it. I took 2 strands of yarn and took them through the holes. So see right here where the end of the stitch marker is coming out, I'm going to take the one end of the 2 strands and I'm going to take it through there. Okay, now the other end, take it through the other end from where it seems that the other end of the stitch marker is coming out, and once you do that, then you can take out your stitch marker. Okay, so let me take the other strand in there too. Okay, so once you do that, take out your stitch marker. Tighten up your button and make a tight knot. Okay, then you're going to weave in those ends. So this is how our first button looks like. Okay, and this is how it looks like when you take it through the buttonhole. Okay. So here it is. Now go ahead and attach all the other buttons in the same exact way up until you finish, and once I attach all my buttons and have weaved in all of my ends, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how our jacket looks finally completed. I've completed my jacket and this is how it looks from the top. This is my collar, the yoke. Okay, moving downwards, I've attached all my buttons, I've weaved in all of my ends. Okay, this is how it looks up until the end. Now, when I tried my jacket on, I realized that I've made a mistake. On the side that I made my buttonholes and on the side that I attached my buttons is for the male jacket and not the female. So if you're making this jacket for a female, for a woman, you want to make your buttonholes on the left and the buttons on the right. Okay? So this is a minor mistake, although if you want to make it perfect, make sure you make your buttonholes on the left and the buttons on the right. On this side that I've made mine is for if you make a jacket for men. Okay? So thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and if you've tried the video, if you made your own jacket, please write a comment under the video if it helped you, if the chart in the beginning helped you. Okay, so I know if the videos that I upload help you make your own crochet projects and you have a good result. Thanks again. Bye bye.